Thanks very much, Nthabiseng, for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
Your CV is incredibly impressive. I mean, this Women's Month, we're focusing on women who are leaders in their sector. What does it take to get to where you are?
I think for me, it's not even really about me being a female. It's about how we start our careers as females in the technical environment. And because I believe to get to where I am, it's really not necessarily because of my gender, but because of the experience that I've gained in the years. I've been in the energy industry for about 18 years now, working experience of about 21 years. So that women start low and go up through the ranks, prove yourself, get to the roles that you need to get to purely out of performance. Yes.
Yeah. But having said that, it is also something notable because there are so many barriers to entry into South Africa's boardrooms. I mean, just yesterday we heard from Labour Minister Thulas Nxesi about the equity targets in companies and how they are not being met. You know, women making up 39% of senior management in countries around South Africa. It's still something that is a problem. Women have to work that much harder to get the very same positions.
And it is true, and I think that talks to the pipeline.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just rock up and wake up tomorrow you're a CEO, you belong to a board, you know. It talks to the work that organizations need to do in developing that pipeline. I've been privileged to work in companies where we've been able to do that, where you bring in graduates, deliberate decisions about bringing graduates from universities, technical graduates, into roles, and you grow them into meaningful positions where you know that at a certain point they will be ready to occupy positions where they need to make decisions. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, we don't necessarily just want to drive numbers. You know, you want to drive its numbers, but it's numbers at equal competency as well. And there's a lot of work that really needs to be done around that in how do we deliberately make decisions as organizations, who do we bring into the business, how do we create roles, you know, because if you're gonna always want to balance the levels of experience between males and females, it's always gonna be unequal. Its fact is males have been in this industry more than us, you know, longer than us. You know, we've always been seen as you can do your soft roles and, you know, anything that has to do with numbers or anything that has to do with science, it's mainly for males. But we're seeing a lot of change in that. We're seeing a lot of young females actually in this industry. But to get them to move to the next level, it requires some of us that are already in roles as females to help in spotting those talents and say, I believe this person can actually move to a role. And not necessarily because they are ready at the time, but because you see that there's potential. You know, because if you're going to wait for everybody to be ready, to be equal to people that have been in industry for long, then we're not going to move anything. So that's my view on it, that we need, especially us as female leaders, we need to take deliberate steps to bring in the younger females into this thing and groom them, mentor, coach. We've got a role to play.
I like what you're saying about it having to be a deliberate decision. And the payoff line for corporates, as you were saying in some of the information that I've been reading on about you, is that 30%, if you have 30% of women in executive positions, in terms of what it delivers to your profitability, there's a 15% increase according to some research.
Yeah, there is research that shows that. And I think it talks to the balance in terms of how we make decisions, just how we're wired between females and males. That balance in terms of diversity brings in different views in how a business is supposed to be run. If we're all going to be females, it's also not going to work, you know, because at the end of the day, we live in a world where there's both genders. Yeah. So the balance in that, it comes with different perspectives. We all look at things differently from all, purely based on you're a female or you're male. We look at things differently. We make decisions differently. And that brings in a lot of dynamics in the decisions.
And it's wonderful,
you know?
actually.
Yes, it is wonderful, because then we could be thinking the same way. Actually, what I see is even us as female, we are diverse like that.
Yes.
We don't all, it doesn't necessarily mean that if we're all females, we're thinking the same way.
Because we have different...
Yes, but just bringing in diversity into any setup, it helps in making decisions that could move things a bit further than just having one of the same, you know.
Now, this is a question that I want to ask you, because there's some discussion around perhaps us as women working against ourselves when it comes to a boardroom situation. So someone treats you in a particular way or makes a comment around a proposal that you've made, and the first thing you think as a woman is, that's because I'm a woman, or that's because I'm a black woman.
Exactly.
How do we, because sometimes that is the reason, but how do we change the way we do those leadership roles?
I'm very passionate about that subject, and in all discussions where I've had a chance of talking to people, I talk really about that, to say a lot of times we want to use our gender as a reason why certain things happen to us. And it's not necessarily the case. How I deal with it, I decide not to see it that way. So if I feel you're treating me in a certain manner, maybe you may be doing just because I'm female, but when I address it, I will never say to you doing this because I'm female. I will never do that. Because by me doing that already, I'm saying there's something wrong with being female, there's something wrong with being black. So I wouldn't bring that into the conversation, even though maybe at the back of my mind I'm thinking this could have tones of, sexism and whatever, but I wouldn't get there, because already you're giving the other person an upper hand. Just by virtue of you saying, are you doing this because I'm female, you're saying you are a man, that means you're better than me. And all these comparisons as well. I also talk about, I've got a boy, I raise a boy. We get married to men. We raised by our fathers. I had a good relationship with my father. And I don't understand why is it when we get to a work environment, we would want to think there's something wrong with that, or there's only mischievous acts behind the relationships that we have with men in the environment. And it requires a lot of mindset change even with us as females, because that also creates its own obstacles, because people that you're supposed to be learning from, because fact is, as I say, these people have been here, men have been in this environment longer than us. And rather than wanting to prove yourself every day by going against them, there's a lot that you can get actually by tapping into their experiences and use it to your advantage. And that is how I think I've really tried to navigate around this notion of, is it happening to me just because I'm female, or because I'm black, because I'm young? You can raise a lot of things around that, but so what? I'm female, so what? I didn't choose to be female. As much as a man didn't choose to be, they were born like that. And it's just life. We're human beings, we're different like that. But what happens to us really, a lot of times for me, it's got very little to do with being female. And when you address it differently, not put the trump card of I'm female, so you're doing this.
Well, thanks very much for coming to studio. Some great insights there. As part of our Women's Month coverage, we are, of course, speaking to various women who are excelling in their specific fields. And Nthabiseng Kubheka is certainly one of those women joining us in studio.